I was already fed up with this routine, you know? Every day was the same. Getting up early, making coffee for Eduardo and watching him leave for the farm, while I stayed here to take care of the household chores. We've lived on this piece of land for a long time. It's not that I don't like it here, but look, Eduardo has become so indolent. He doesn't even seem like the same passionate man I married, who was always around me. Now, he only thinks about the animals, the crops and the farm's business. He barely notices me anymore, feeling like a decorative object in this house. Then, my mind starts to wander and I think nonsense. And isn't it that these workers who work here look at me in a different way, always exchanging pleasantries and cracking jokes? At first, I thought it was funny, but the truth is that it started to affect me in an unexpected way. It was a Tuesday. Eduardo had left early to take care of something in the village, and I was left alone with the workers. The sun was scorching, and I decided to bring them some water. A simple thing, just to help. I got to the plantation and saw João, the most experienced of them, who was always polite, but lately had been full of arrogance with me. "Hey, Dona Lucia, what are you doing here in this heat? Are you here to take care of the workers or just your husband?" he asked, giving that little laugh that made me smile too. "Nothing to take care of your husband, João. Eduardo is only interested in this land lately. If I disappeared, he wouldn't even notice," I replied with a laugh, but there was some truth to it. Eduardo barely looked at me anymore, and the other workers started laughing too. Soon, Rafael, a younger man who always had his shirt open, took the opportunity to join the conversation. "Dona Lucia, if I were Eduardo, I wouldn't even leave the house. You don't need a husband, you need a real man," he said, looking at me with a mischievous smile. I laughed awkwardly, but felt my blood heating up. The truth is that it had been a while since I had received a compliment like that, and even though they were jokes, it stirred me inside. João, noticing the change in the air, came closer. "Well, Mrs. Lucia, Eduardo is a bit of a slob, right? We're just watching him, working hard, while he's out there. He'd better watch out, he said, still laughing, but I knew there was some truth in those words. I felt my heart race. The way they looked at me, the jokes, everything seemed like a spark ready to ignite. And deep down, I liked it. I liked being the center of attention, feeling that I was still desired. Something Eduardo hadn't done in a long time. "Go take care of your work, you shameless people," I said, laughing, but unable to hide how much it was affecting me. I left, but my mind wouldn't stop. João, Rafael, even Carlos, who was more reserved, were always giving me looks. I had always been loyal to Eduardo, but the truth is that I was missing something more. It wasn't just attention, it was desire. Those workers, with their sweaty bodies and their jokes, made me feel that way again. The next day, I woke up with that tension in the air. Eduardo, as always, left early, and I went to take care of my duties, but I couldn't stop thinking about that, the feeling of being noticed, of being desired. And deep down, I knew that something inside me had already changed. The desire for something new, something forbidden, was already consuming me. Around noon, I went to the barn to get some things. When I went in, I came face to face with João and Rafael. They were organizing tools, sweaty and shirtless, and that heat got to me. Not just the heat of the sun, but the heat that rose when I saw the two of them there, looking at me like that. "Hey, Dona Lucia, did you come to see if we're working properly?" João asked, approaching with that smile that said it all. I felt my blood heat up again, but I tried to maintain my composure. "I just came to get some things, João. You always think I'm here to keep an eye on things, don't you?" I replied, laughing, but without moving. Rafael, who was quieter, looked me up and down and said, "If you want to keep a close eye on us, we don't mind. You don't need a husband, you need a real man," winking at me with a mischief that made me tremble inside. That comment hit me hard. I looked at João, then at Raphael, and I knew they were waiting for my reaction. And at that moment, I realized I wasn't going to back down. I didn't want to back down. "You guys are too cheeky for my taste, huh? Eduardo trusts me, you know," I said, teasing even more, but with a smile on my face. The laughter continued, and the mood became even lighter. I knew I was playing a dangerous game, but at the same time I felt increasingly comfortable in this role. Eduardo didn't suspect anything, and that gave me more freedom to do whatever I wanted. I was in control of the situation, and that was a feeling I didn't want to lose any time soon. As the afternoon wore on, Eduardo came back from the city, tired and sweaty. He came in the door, gave me a quick kiss on the forehead and went straight to the shower, as he always did. While he was there, I wondered how we had gotten to this point. My marriage with Eduardo had never been bad, but it had never been full of passion either. It was more of a life partnership, and I had accepted that for many years. But now, after everything that was happening, I no longer knew if this partnership was enough for me. The next day, I went to the field where the workers were. The sun was intense, and they were already shirtless, sweating as they worked on the fences. Miguel, as always, was the first to see me and started talking to me as usual. "So, Dona Lucia, has the cuckold left the house yet?" he asked, laughing and fanning himself with his hat. I laughed too. Those jokes no longer held any weight for me. It was just a way of dealing with the situation. "Yes, he has. He's in the city. But don't worry, he won't find out anything," I said, winking at him. João came closer, laughing along with me. "Yeah, he'll never find out, right, Dona Lucia? If you wanted to make a fool of Eduardo for the rest of his life, the guy has already accepted the role of cuckold and doesn't even know it," he said, adjusting his hat on his head. I looked at the two of them and shook my head, laughing. "And who said he needs to know? Let him think everything is fine. I'll take care of things around here," I said, already knowing that I was completely comfortable with this situation. The power I felt from being in control was something I had never experienced before. And even though somewhere deep down I knew I was wrong, I also knew that I wasn't going to stop. Eduardo could continue being the devoted husband, but now I had discovered something about myself that I couldn't ignore. The days continued to pass, and I found myself increasingly involved with the workers. Our relationship was a shared secret, something that connected us in a different way. I knew they liked this complicity, and I liked it too. It was as if, with them, I could be another person, a version of myself that wasn't afraid to take risks. Eduardo continued with his usual routine, without suspecting anything. I would look at him and sometimes I would feel a pang of guilt, but that feeling would soon pass. I was already too involved in this game to think about going back. In the end, I knew I was playing with fire, but I also knew that as long as I played my cards right, nothing would change. I was the faithful wife in Eduardo's eyes, and at the same time the woman who had fun with the workers in her spare time. It was a double life that I had created for myself, and no matter how risky it was, I didn't want to stop. The truth is that at that moment I felt in control of my life for the first time in years. And so life went on. Lucia, now completely comfortable with her double life, became a true expert at disguising herself. While Eduardo continued with his usual routine, thinking he had everything under control, Lucia enjoyed every moment away from him with the workers on the farm. For her, her marriage to Eduardo became nothing more than a convenient facade. A man who, despite being dedicated to his work, never noticed what was happening right under his nose. Poor Flavio continued to think his life was on track. He would brag about how devoted his wife was and how stable their marriage was, never imagining that Lucia lived a completely different reality. She would joke about it with the workers, and everyone would laugh at her husband's naivety, who had no idea about his wife's comings and goings. Eduardo is the happiest cuckold I've ever seen, they would say, and Lucia couldn't help but agree. In the end, Lucia kept her double life going without being discovered. She had fun with the workers, and when she was with Eduardo, she assumed the role of the perfect wife. Her husband, always busy with the farm, never saw anything. And so the game continued. Eduardo, without knowing it, was just a piece in a bigger game that Lucia controlled masterfully. Did you like this story? Then leave a comment telling us what you thought, and, if you've ever experienced something similar, share it with us. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell so you don't miss any new content. Here, we always bring life stories, reflections, and real experiences, all with great sincerity. Thank you for watching until the end and for being part of this journey. See you in the next video.